morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to this corner with Mr. Marchionne, the Commissioner for Industry. The CARS21 High-level Group approved 5 minutes ago a final report. Within this report we delivered an action plan in favor of the automotive sector in next year against the crisis. 3 points in this action plan. First of all, smart regulation. Good trade policy. Level playing field. As you know, within our communication industrial policy approved in 2010, there is within this policy a check, competitiveness proofing. This is important to check before the signature, and competitiveness proofing for our companies. Third point is a good work in favor of innovation and research in the automotive sector. My proposal will be to increase the money or in Horizon 2020 for a new green cars initiative. As you know, now we have 1 billion euros for this initiative. My proposal will be 1.5 billion euros for automotive, for green cars initiative. Then we will work also for a good policy for small, raw materials. It's a key point for automotive sector. I want to thank everybody for good work. CARS21 we will have the next year's CARS 2020. It's good work for the implementation of our work. The European Commission will adopt after the summer communication for the implementation of CARS 21 decision. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Marchionne, President of ACEA, you have the floor.
Thanks very much. I think it's been a successful, fruitful session which we just concluded. This is the culmination of a consultation process which has lasted a number of months and which has delivered a document which I think embodies a set of consensus views about how to drive this business forward. As I mentioned to the Vice President here, who was not here at the time, I'm the victim of and I was actually a participant and a victim of the first CARS21 project that was completed about 5 years ago. And I think we all walked out of that process with a very clear view that we would make this into a shared commitment to drive forward a better future for the automotive industry. And the document reflected a number of undertakings, including the fact that all participants in the so-called travel world would participate. People that provided infrastructure, people that worked on the fuel side, etc. And that we would be opening ourselves up to a very strong collaborative effort with the Commission, where effectively this whole notion of impact assessments would be carried out thoroughly and carefully before any type of regulation was implemented. We lived through a process thereafter which was less than stellar. And so we approached this and we started this process with CARS21 with some skepticism. I think we embrace now hopefully the conclusion that has been reached with the Commission. We want this to be a living document that holds all of us accountable for delivery. Because we could, walking out of here with a piece of paper means nothing. Making this document a viable document for the industry as a footprint, as a guideline, for its development going forward is crucial. I don't want this to be forgotten. I also don't want it to be forgotten in terms of the free trade agreements that are being contemplated by this Commission going forward. The issue of Japan came up in the meeting, as the Commissioner knows. It is an issue which is first and foremost in our minds now, and we have reminded the Commissioners that were present at the meeting that the scoping exercise that's been carried out is, in our view, incomplete and therefore deficient. And that we need to be very, very careful before we open up ourselves to any additional exposures on a free trade basis when the underlying economic context is incredibly restrictive on restructuring possibilities in Europe and where the economic underpinnings of the demand function in Europe are as weak as they are. So having said all this, I think it's a good day. It's a day one of a long haul going forward. And I think we need to stay focused on the commitments that we've all made with Commissioner Tajani. There's no letting up. I don't ever want to stand back here and say, I wish we had lived with the spirit of the agreement. Right? That's something that we've done already. I think we need to make this document a viable document. But I want to thank the Vice President for all he's done. I think it's been a good effort on everybody's concern.
As you know, for me, automotive sector is a key point within our new strategy, or our third industrial revolution, as I said last week during our high-level meeting in Brussels with the President Barroso. Is the heart of the third industrial revolution, and for this it's important to back automotive sector within innovation policy, but also during our before our agreement with other countries, with Japan and with India. So this is very important to cooperate with Commissioner De Gucht. Commissioner De Gucht was with us during the debate, underlined strong engagement in favor of industrial policy, and we will work together. It is important, the agreement between companies, workers, not only big companies but also small and medium-sized enterprises working around big companies in the automotive sector. This is crucial for me, but also unions are totally in favor of our document. For this it's important to work together in the next month for the implementation of this action plan in favor of the automotive sector. Also, the smart regulation, I think, is very, very important. In my sector, I think it is crucial to work in favor of new rules, with smart rules, without strong burden for companies and small and medium-sized companies. We are working also against climate change, but my position is very clear. Without a global agreement, it's possible to change our Rule 2020. We want to achieve this target, but it's important at the same time to work against climate change, but to back real economy, because without real economy, our internal market, our companies, our small and medium-sized companies, it's very difficult to work in favor of growth and jobs. Also, internationalization is very important for us. I totally agree with Mr. Marchionne when he said it's important to work in favor of internationalization against delocalization. For this, as you know, I organized a lot of mission for growth, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, Mexico, United States of America, and we will organize also in China, Russia, North Africa, Australia, and Canada.
Thank you very much. We have time for a few questions. If you can kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you, Alvise Armelini for the German press agency, DPA. I wanted to ask...
It's not German.
No. I wanted to ask, is this about EU taxpayers having to support the car industry? And if so, what would be a good reason for them to do this? And secondly, to the Commissioner Tajani, Is there any possibility of imposing barriers on South Korea, as I think Mr. Marchionne mentioned today? Thank you.
Before you hang up your telephone, your microphone, just explain the first question to me. I mean, there appears to be a background to your question, which is...
No, I mean, by doing this exercise, is the European car industry asking for money from governments, including, for example, loans from the EIB or any kind of public support for the industry? I think it's an important issue to be cleared up. It's just a question.
I don't think the CARS21 in its present form encompasses any specific request for funding. I have been told that there are a number of press articles that have come out from publications that you represent that have intentionally misrepresented the facts about what my view has been and on what ACEA's view has been on the issue of restructuring. And I'm glad you brought it up, because it appears as if you tripped up on purpose a particular landmine. The only point that I've ever made, well, for the record, whether you've tripped it up or otherwise you're going to be the beneficiary of the explosion. But for the record, the only thing I've ever said was that to avoid partisan views, that the European Union should undertake a coordination of the restructuring of the European industry. I never, ever suggested that the payment for that restructuring ought to happen on anybody's shoulders other than the companies. And if you want to go back and check your record and talk about taxpayers, go find out how much has been created in terms of wealth, employment, tax revenues and otherwise to each one of the countries that belong to the European Union, and come back and ask you the question after you've done your numbers. You'll be embarrassed to find out how ill-founded your request is.
Just for the record, I haven't quoted you on any story, so maybe you're talking about a German colleague of mine, but I don't know.
You're representing the German press. I unfortunately represent the...
I represent the ACEA, not the German press.
But I represent the auto industry, and I therefore answer on their behalf and take all the accusations you like to levy, including the one you just asked, and I defend it.
It was a question, not an accusation, but see it that way if you want.
It was an accusation. Trust me. But anyway, it's not.
Okay.
I've answered it.
And the other question?
As you know, I am a strong supporter of level playing field. It's very difficult to compete, for example, for a soccer match in Europe, 11 against 11, to play the same match in other countries, 9 against 13. For this, I think it's important to back our companies during trade agreement. As you know, within our communication 2010 on industrial policy, we have the competitiveness text before the signature of every international agreement for trade. I want to do it.
Can I just answer 2 cents to your Korea question, since I appear to have been an advocate to the position at some point in time. The only thing I ask you to do is to actually look at the numbers of cars imported from Korea and cars exported from Europe into Korea in the last 9 months, from actually a bit more, but look at 9 months from July 1st until the end of the first quarter. And you will be amazed as to what the proportions are. I find it to be almost a miraculous event, given the fact that the market, the European market, has been down 5 years in a row. On a consecutive basis, it's down 5 years, and the export up disproportionately to the amount of exports that we've had into Korea.
So what should be done about it?
Just look at the agreement. The agreement says very, very clearly that there are things that need to be checked post-implementation, and it's something which I've encouraged the commission, this commissioner and other commissioners to look at. We got to find out whether effectively the free trade agreement is delivering all the benefits that everybody envisioned at the time we signed it. And it's a very good thing to do, even after the implementation, and it's a very good warning sign for Japan.
Mr. Tajani, Simon Walton, Just Auto. You mentioned the trade unions were broadly in favour of this agreement. To what extent were they present today at the meeting, and on what basis do you claim that they're all in favour?
Altogether, the last.
Arthur Neslam, you're active. Some questions on CO2 emissions. There have been reports in Germany that the sentence about long-term emissions coming from an integrated policy approach, infrastructure driver behaviour, suggests a move away from measuring CO2 emissions at the tailpipe. Is that a correct interpretation? Should it be? The report also says it's essential that car makers are provided with targets far enough in advance. Mr. Marchionne, how far is far enough? And it also says that the 2020 targets are cheaper than it was thought they would be for the car industry. Can you say how much cheaper?
My position is very clear. You have an interview on German press and on Financial Times Deutschland and Financial Times yesterday and today. 2020 is our target, and without other agreement it's impossible for us to change our position. On union position, union worked very well with us. Also the unions approved the final text of CARS21. They want to work with us in favor of this action plan for automotive sector. The agreement is a good agreement also with unions.
If I can just answer your two issues that you raised about measuring emissions other than at the tailpipe. That's misleading. That was never the conclusion. And I think, to be perfectly honest, I think your reference to the fact that we had an integrated approach that tried to bring in other people as co-responsible participants in the delivery of a particular objective was a good thing. We have repeated that statement in this version of CARS21. There's nothing in this CARS21 document that effectively assigns or creates co-responsibility to other actors. But we consider them to be active participants in this. It cannot just be the car side that delivers the objective. There has been no deviation from the tailpipe emission test. And the other thing is that it's almost nonsensical to ask whether it's been cheaper than we originally expected to deliver 95 grams. I asked you to take a look at the cost of the cleanup of a Euro 6 standard. And you come and talk to me. I'm on diesel side, and you'll find out. Right, just ask anybody who's installing a Euro 6 on a diesel engine. You'll be surprised as to what the cost is in proportion to the cost of the whole vehicle. So,
and that's what it says in the document.
The cost said, I think the document says there have been a number of technological innovations that have been brought on to try and help us along. Do not underestimate the cost of bringing on this technology.
It says development and production costs will increase, particularly for cars that are lower than the previous estimates.
I think that that document reflects the number of concessions that this industry made with the other participants to facilitate the drafting and planning version. If you ask my opinion, I don't think there is a single number inside our organization that has deviated from the original cost estimate on delivering compliance.
Okay.
It may have been true for other car companies, it certainly wasn't true for us. But these are one of the things that you do as part of aggregation of views in order to issue a document.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
L'unica cosa